And Elon Musk tweeted a few days ago, nobody is pushing this war more than Newland. And there's this narrative from Elon Musk, from former President Donald Trump, from actor Russell Brand, people that are very popular in social media, that this one woman caused or started Ukraine's revolution of dignity.
It's afternoon time in Ukraine, where Joseph Lindsley is. Joe, hello to you. We're now a few days past the one-year anniversary of the war, and that much-feared attack from Russian forces, a major attack, really hasn't developed, has it?
No, Bob, it has not at all. And, we had, for example, throughout the country this morning, there were air raid alarms until about 11 o'clock from about 7 a.m., but still very calm. Some experts and observers are thinking that Russia really has depleted its stockpile of missiles. And so that's why we do see this period of calm. We have seen in the past week, since the February 24th anniversary, a number of small drone attacks. Most of those drones have been shot down. And perhaps that is, Russians are doing recon or they're testing Ukraine's air defense system while they're working on resupply. There is concern that maybe during this time, Russia is getting resupplied by, say, China or even North Korea. And so we are it's a strange waiting period in much of the country. But then, of course, in Bakhmut, that's where the most intense fighting is happening. And the Ukrainian officials have said that there are more Russians here than we have ammunition to destroy them. And that's what I've heard for weeks from friends I know who have been fighting in Bakhmut. There is a shortage of ammunition, and they've had often to conserve their rounds as they try to keep the Russians away. And it is this Russian paramilitary group, the Wagner group, that is really that's the Russian force that is trying to take Bakhmut. They're probably a little bit less now than 3 miles away from circling the city, which would cut off any Ukrainians in there. So that would be a horrible situation. And I think there's something going on within the Kremlin and the Russian military. So Wagner is this sort of private military mercenary group. The owner has been the leader of it has been very close to Vladimir Putin. And he has been critical vocally of the Russian military. And in the past couple of days, there were moves in Moscow to further silence any type of criticism of the military. So some people think that maybe there are certainly power plays going on between Russian generals and then the Russian mercenaries who are working down in Bakhmut. And what we see is, the Russians, the main resource they have is as many bodies as they want to keep throwing right now at Bakhmut, and really with no regard for how well these guys are trained or for human life. And so the Ukrainians simply, they lack some of the technical means to stop this onslaught. And I think it's in fact the Reznikov, the Ukrainian defense minister, said the Russians are following a crazy tactic, just sending waves and waves of former prisoners just to get a few meters of ground. And so as we look at this, there's also some people looking at Crimea. It's hard to know exactly what's going on there. We're in this strange, one of these strange moments of calm that we have now and then throughout the war. And then meanwhile, always, as we talked about earlier this week, there's the information battle. And Elon Musk tweeted a few days ago, nobody is pushing this war more than Newland. And Newland, Victoria Newland, is a longtime United States State Department employee. She's now Undersecretary of State. And there's this narrative from Elon Musk, from former President Donald Trump, from actor Russell Brand, people that are very popular in social media, that this one woman caused or started Ukraine's revolution of dignity, and that this whole war is because of her. And it really, as I walk the streets of Kharkiv and I see, the spirit and how everyone's collaborating to stand for the life that they love. And even, it's wartime, but, you see soldiers walking everywhere, but there's a sense of trust, right? You're not stopped to check your papers. And it really is, people speak whatever language they want, Russian or Ukrainian or English, although there is a great effort to recover their culture. And what Ukrainians did in that revolution was claim their country, begin claiming their country back and their culture. And I've seen that because I've been here since the pandemic. And I don't think even as good as the American government can be, I don't think they could really orchestrate such a revolution of the soul and of hearts and minds that I see every day here. And you even look at the little nation of Ireland. They speak English, not Irish. Even with 5 million people, they were not able to recover their language, but the Ukrainians have. And so again, it's just I guess from my perspective here, reminding people that everything I see here and I have seen here, this is a movement of the people and not controlled by some outside force, and certainly not by a single United States diplomat.
Yes, that's a bit of a far-fetched theory. I imagine that the topic of discussion in the cafes and coffee houses, Joe, this weekend will be the United States announcing more military aid for Ukraine later today.
Yeah, well, and always with this, and there's a couple of angles on it. I mean, when the aid is announced, when will that arrive? How quickly will it arrive? Because there's still talk of the tanks. And I was speaking with some officials who work in Congress, and I said, it is very hard to get actual specific numbers on what has been sent. And so maybe next week, if these people can help me, we'll have a good report. Because again, a lot of when Washington throws out numbers, and no matter what they're talking about, often it's rather careless, and it's meant just to score political points. But to actually see, what is the real value of equipment that's being sent? Is it old equipment? Is it new equipment? It is hard to pin that down. When we hear of the Ukrainian need for ammunition in Bakhmut, that's been a known need for a long time. And so there is some concern that this aid is still coming too slowly. And the question is, do people in Washington, do they want quick victory for Ukraine? Are some of them concerned about pushing Russia too much? And do some people want this to go on for a while in order to make money? And there's all different motivations behind the scenes. Meanwhile, I think it's the Eastern Europeans who clearly understand. Today, there are elections in Estonia. The Estonian Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas, said and Estonia was once part of the Soviet Union. She said, we know very well, if you don't stop this aggression, the aggression will continue. And so that remains the state of the debate about what's going on. And we have to keep an eye on Moldova, Bob, because a Hungarian airline has canceled flights for the whole month into Moldova, reminiscent of when airlines canceled flights a year ago before the invasion of Ukraine. And there's a lot of concern that Russians are stirring something up there. And Moldova today declared that their national language is Romanian and not the Soviet-created Moldovan. And so we see a lot of maneuverings during these semi-quiet days everywhere besides Bakhmut and other places on the front line.
Joseph, I want to leave you with a nice text we got from one of our listeners. This is from Michelle. Hello, Bob. Again, thank you and WGN for bringing Joseph Lindsley's daily reports to us. I commend you for bringing his real-time, heartfelt enlightenment to the so many of us who care. Last September, I sent you a text with a picture of daffodils and a sunflower in a blue vase, and this was about Joseph's Ukraine reporting. You read it on the air. He responded in his usual gracious way. At the time, I was remarking on the time that had passed since early spring and early fall, and the war was still going on. Now it's hard to believe more than a year has passed since the beginning of this war. I'm in total awe of the spirit and strength of the Ukrainian people. I do my best to spread the word and enlighten others of this unprovoked barbaric attack that so desperately needs global support. I appreciate and admire Joseph's resilience and tenacity, and especially his remarkable ability to give us such a clear, intense, extremely human perspective of what is happening there. I do worry about him, though, and I'm always relieved to hear his voice at about 7:20 in the morning. Love and blessings to you and yours, Michelle. Isn't that nice?
Well, thank you, Michelle, and it's very helpful to hear from the same people to keep marking the time. Otherwise, it's easy to lose track of how long we've been going through this together.
Yeah, for sure. Hope you have a safe, peaceful weekend, and we'll talk Monday, Joe.
Thank you, Bob. Until Monday.
Introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important, that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?